righty, good afternoon. Thank you all for joining today's session. Just to get us started, my name is Kiana Dixon. To preface this afternoon, please excuse my voice. It is Vegas. I am the Associate Director of Educational Programs at the Accreditation Council for Medical Affairs. My experience and expertise is really in medical excellence through medical education. I really marry education with the pharmaceutical industry, from medical affairs and MSL teams to market access and FRM teams. Today, I am joined by Heather Polk. Heather, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And I just want to say my cup is full. This is my first Healthcare Advocate Summit. And, excuse me, Vegas. I have just been overwhelmed, delighted, and highly informed by every conversation, because that's what they have been up here on stage that I've had the pleasure of attending. So thank you. Again, Heather Polk, I am U.S. Director of Field Reimbursement with Ascendis Pharma, and want to extend a huge thank you to Kiana. Not only prior to today, I was asked by her as well as her colleagues at ACMA to contribute to an advisory board focused on reimbursement and artificial intelligence. You've heard snippets of AI here today. Out in the real world, be it your experiences, your children, can I get on ChatGPT, mom, et cetera. You cannot evade artificial intelligence, and I'm super excited to talk about the ways that the entire advisory board thought about how it might impact what we do and what you do in your respective functions. So, Kiana, go ahead.
Thank you. As Heather mentioned, today we'll really dive into our advisory board, the findings and the insights that we received from that ad board, and how we're using it to really create an AI tool, an AI-powered capability tool that really will power the daily task of FRMs, patient access coordinators, all of those that are in the reimbursement process, especially those who deal with prior authorizations. Now, when we discuss the term AI, and we discuss AI specifically in reimbursement, this sometimes is pretty new, right? I've been to Healthcare Advocate Summit a few years in a row, and this is the first year I've seen where our agenda is stacked with technology, with the discussion of AI. We hear and see AI's impact in so many other industries, so many other use cases like research and development, right? Marketing and sales, even resume building. We hear these buzzwords like GPT, llama model, predictive analytics, and it can become very complex, very confusing. So we really want to clear up that confusion today, dive into how AI is used specifically in reimbursement. Now, today, again, we'll dive into AI's impact on FRMs, the reimbursement process as a whole, as well as provide those findings from our ad board that we had today. Now, before we get started into AI's impact, we have to first identify those teams that are impacted and affected by the tool that we've built at ACMA, which I'll go over. I can't find my clicker. Here we go. Now, those teams that we deal with the most when it comes to AI and our reimbursement AI tool are those in the FRM space or into patient access teams. Here we go. Now, Heather Polk, she mentioned that she's in field reimbursement. And so I'd really like you, Heather, to first dive into, in your words, who is a field reimbursement manager?
I know I don't have to belabor this because I've heard, again, from so many of you about what a field reimbursement is, a manager is. The term may vary. Some access and reimbursement professionals, the responsibilities may vary. I support a team that is focused in the specialty pharmacy space. We don't do anything with regard to buy and bill. So there will be variance in the responsibilities and what you need from your field reimbursement or access person based on the type of product. So I just wanted to give that disclaimer. In a nutshell, I think your reimbursement expert is there to help demystify some of the complexities associated with getting your patient access to therapy. And so we bridge a gap between that manufacturer's product and the patient actually starting therapy. We provide education across the board from informing you what resources we have available, be it financial resources, just understanding, helping you and your staff perhaps understand the patient journey through our hub. And we help you with adherence, persistency through therapy. We're really experts on reimbursement coverage and what's utilization management criteria, or the UM. How do you get your patient on therapy? I think really high-performing FRMs are also, they act with a lot of integrity and tell you when there is no pathway. And a lot of manufacturers may not like that, but if we want to maintain what I love Lacey in one of the previous conversations talked about was a relationship, we have to be forthcoming, and we being you and I, you guys may find out information that we don't necessarily know because payers like to be very mysterious and not share information. So what FRMs do is we have a symbiotic relationship with HCPs, their staff, and extended partners. They may be pharmacy techs, they may be nurses, MAs, biologic coordinators. The titles vary significantly based on your therapeutic area or how your offices are set up, but we're here to liaise to inform you on how to get your patient access.
Thank you, Heather. Now, Heather mentioned how she interacts often with HCPs, their staff, including nurses, medical assistants. But this staggering figure of 12 hours that you see spent per physician, you probably will see this data point, this fact, throughout the entire week, every session that you go to in Healthcare Advocate Summit. This staggering figure of 12 hours per physician per week on prior authorizations really highlights this immense burden, immense administrative burden on HCPs in their offices. And to me and to ACMA, it was very clear that there is a need, an immediate need for more efficient solutions in solving this process. And this is really where AI comes into play, right? Offering this transformative potential to better streamline your processes, to take away time from this 12 hours on administrative work and putting that into patient care instead. Now, where we saw the need and we identified this need for AI when we were with ACMA is because our clients, our stakeholders are across the patient access realm. Right. Those included in patient access who I work with daily are from direct patient care professionals, so those who are at the provider level. They are HCPs, they are the medical assistants, they are the nurses who are submitting these claims, or through to manufacturers, FRM teams, market access teams as well. And no matter who I speak to across that patient access realm, they seemingly have very similar significant changes in their role. Right? They have to keep pace with constantly changing payer policies. They have a vast amount of data and information that they have to keep up with and keep organized as well. And so we identified this need based on these conversations with our stakeholders and with our clients. So if you follow me along with this story, if you will, with ACMA, we identified this need as the experts in this area, and we began searching for tools that are out there that could be an efficient solution for these teams. And in our search, there really weren't any. There was nothing that directly impacted who we spoke to the most, those patient access teams. So us as those experts, we kind of asked ourselves, like, hey, we're the experts. We kind of know what we're doing. We know what we're talking about. Why not we just make it ourselves? And so we did. So our lead stack software developer, he created an AI tool specifically for reimbursement. Right? And he made this AI tool. It was great. You know, we had a few questions, but we really needed that verification step. We wanted to talk to those who were interacting with these obstacles in patient access firsthand so that they can tell us what key functionalities of an AI tool would make the most impact on their role, on their patients. Right? We wanted to make sure that we were ensuring we had a data privacy and secure tool for those teams. And so we built and we convened these industry leaders within the reimbursement space to conduct an advisory board to answer those questions, to identify where is that impact. And that's really where I met Heather. Again, that advisory board that she mentioned, she was one of our selected participants in the advisory board to give us those insights. And that's what we're going to cover today. So on this advisory board, my goal was to uncover again, where in your daily tasks, in reimbursement, in market, and patient access, would AI impact you the most? Right? Now, after a 2-hour-long conversation, these were the answers that were provided to us. These are the insights that we gathered from that conversation. We found on FRMs specifically, where AI could impact the most is to streamline benefit investigations, to enhance their communication with payers and with HCPs, to decrease research time, as well as supporting their strategy development throughout their product's lifecycle. Now, Heather, you and I, we had a conversation on how AI technology could impact benefit investigations or streamline it a little better. And there are some findings on the payer side on how you have this impact. Can you tell us and tell the crowd a little bit more about our conversation?
Sure. So while there are a lot of functions currently within manufacturers, again, Kiana spoke beautifully to it. Drug development and marketing are highly engaged with using artificial intelligence. That hasn't necessarily trickled down on the commercial side to what your sales teams are using with regard to AI, your MSLs, or your field reimbursement yet. But the world in which we're working, they are using it, and specifically on the reimbursement side. So payers, so the enrollment forms that you fill out, when they come in through the payers, they are using artificial intelligence to do a quick scan, to do a quick review. And so when you're working with your field reimbursement manager, your access liaison, and they're like, can you please fill out this? This is important. It's important because every bit of information that is accidentally omitted or you just deem not important for whatever reason, it actually has the potential to result in a denial. And our role is to help you get your patient to therapy. And so we're gunning to get it to determination and approval. And so I think the way in which payers are using, and some of it's controversial, some have been slapped on the wrist for utilizing AI systems that have not been appropriately vetted. There are a lot of payers that are very forthcoming in the fact that they are piloting these and they're informing their customers and their users. So I think it's important if you work in a healthcare setting to know that AI is being used primarily on tests or access to a procedure, not so much yet on the drug side. There is some piloting of drugs, but again, it's highly controversial because in some instances, if you can imagine access to a procedure that's timely, you don't have time if you're a physician to have that delay. That procedure may then lead into access to therapy. So that's been a pain point as it relates to benefits investigations.
In your discussions with HCPs, with payers, you mentioned that you're a resource to them. And I see, of course, AI as a resource as well. And we discussed how using AI could really help you drive those conversations with HCPs and payers by understanding which cases may be more likely to make it all the way through versus those where you have to take a little bit of extra time. How would that help you as a director of an FRM team?
Sure. So there are newer technologies on the marketplace. Watchtower by Claritas, if you're familiar. And these are going to be tools that are used by the FRM teams. We're contracting to leverage them from a case management standpoint. They have AI capabilities built into them where there's predictive analytics that suggest this case has a high percentage of approval, this case has a lower percentage of approval. So one way in which I guide the FRM team is to consider helping their offices prioritize the cases that are easiest. So work with your lowest hanging fruit. If you have a high predictability of approval for that case, that's the case you want to work on first. If you have a case that's lower predicted approval, maybe that needs a letter of medical necessity, that's going to take a longer time. You've got to engage other staff members to get that case to have a higher probability of becoming approved. But using these resources that you do have at your fingertips, and Claritas Watchtower, That's one resource. You may be using Data Unveil, you may be using Courier Health. There are other competitors aggressively coming into this space, but they're hugely beneficial. The other benefit is they really help FRMs create a consistency and a continuity in their approach to how they work the case, which then creates more continuity and consistency in the way in which you're engaging with your FRMs. If one person comes in replacing me and you're accustomed to a certain way you've been working with me, maybe that ramp up of the new person is smoother, and so that's another way in which technology will advance the space and create more efficiency, ultimately to get that patient on access to therapy.
Now, looking at the blue box here, decreasing research time. We've already seen that on the provider's level and the direct patient care, they're looking at about 12 hours on average per week per physician on prior authorizations. And a large chunk of that is usually researching either information for those letters of medical necessity or for appeal letters. How would AI impact the FRM, who is a resource to those team members, help to decrease that number for them?
Most rules of engagement within FRM teams would not permit them to really use any current AI tools that are out there. What some FRM teams may be empowered to do is actually share access or inform providers and their staff that here is a resource available for you to use, but we would not actually, or our teams would not be doing any work or working with you to manipulate any information. But the resources will likely help you identify references that you want to cite for appeals, letters of medical necessity, identify copay, perhaps foundation or other financial resources that your patients may be needing. I think the opportunity is almost limitless, but it is going to be limited by what is the source of the AI, what has been fed into that, and the more hands-on that you're feeding information into that, the more valuable that source will become over time.
Awesome. Now again, these are all findings that we've gathered not only from Heather, but also other FRM leaders within the pharmaceutical industry. Now some of those that Heather has already mentioned, these are some key functionalities for AI use specifically in reimbursement. Not only in our tool that ACMA has built, but also any AI tool that you're assessing for your role for patient access. These are those key functionalities that we identified from the advisory board that are important in order to make an impact. Right, we already mentioned those intuitive user interfaces, no matter which role you're located in or which team you're in, but the integration capabilities is a key one that we've used and we've taken to update our own tool. Right, integration capabilities with the existing systems, this is how you maintain consistency, how you minimize errors, right? Maintaining consistency across multiple teams, and again, between you and your patient. Here, when I'm thinking integration capabilities with other teams, right? We mentioned marketing and sales, working with FRMs. If there is an integration capability of an AI tool and a CRM system, such as Viva or wherever you hold your customer relationship management interactive notes, having that integration capability with an AI tool, you have that information readily available. If you have an integration capability with an EMR or an EHR, for example, you have information about a specific case readily available for when you are speaking to your FRM, you have all of your information. Now that predictive analytics bullet that you see here, this is where we identified with Heather that predictive analytics would really make a change and an update in that leadership position, understanding in how to prioritize your cases when you have a lot on your hands. Those were just a few of those AI use cases specifically for reimbursement. Heather also mentioned support for a letter of medical necessities development. All of these examples that we see here on our screen is for you to identify that AI is really your companion and not your competitor. Similar to how you see and you work with FRMs as a resource for your patients, is how we envision AI will be used to impact your role for patient access. Now, a common question for any tool, any tech tool that you want to identify for healthcare, we always have to talk about PHI, right? Patient health information is very important, and when we're building and integrating these AI capabilities into tools, we really want to ensure data privacy, data security with PHI. So we have to take a few of these considerations into account, right? And these PHI considerations are, again, the insights that we gathered from our advisory board. What is important for an AI tool? Now, ACMA, when we were building our reimbursement AI tool, these are some key considerations that we took into account first of mind from the very beginning. Right? In order to ensure data privacy and security, there are a few considerations that you have to take into account when you're assessing a tool, whether you're assessing our tool for use or even your own database for your own internal use. Right. First, we want to take a look and see if there's a very clear PHI non-use disclaimer in your tool. Some HCP organizations, they already have a very robust security IT team in place, so they don't usually have that HIPAA compliance requirement for a new AI tool, so that may already exist. If they don't have that PHI disclaimer, another option that occurs is where we see if there's a process or a strategy for some type of de-identification of data, which is very important. Now, the last bullet that you see on your screen is one that we'll talk about a bit more throughout today's presentation. It's identifying where the source of the information that your AI tool pulls its information in its answers for you, where that is sourced from. Because some public web scraping only AI tools, they don't have that same level of PHI protection as one that has carefully curated data specifically to an organization. Some other considerations to take into account outside of that PHI, data security, data privacy, they really deal with compliance and legal, of course. All of these standards, we're taking a look at ensuring transparency, ensuring reduced bias specifically. In our advisory board, it was brought up and mentioned that there should always be regular audits for really any tool, but especially AI, to either identify or address any potential biases that may occur. Here we have in the blue, which is very important, right? No matter how far tech takes us, it's important to understand that AI should augment and not replace human decision-making, specifically in reimbursement, right? Here, I want to highlight the importance or the difference between a tool that's widely available, like ChatGPT, versus a tool that is made specifically for reimbursement. When we're looking at one of those popular, widely available tools, again, like ChatGPT, we have to identify where they pull that information from. ChatGPT, they rely on public information as well as their users, right? The more the users use those tools, the smarter that tool becomes. Now, I say smarter only because ChatGPT, its goal is really to just give you an answer, not giving you the right answer, right? Versus a tool that is specifically made for reimbursement, is tailored specifically to your team. It's tailored specifically to your documents, your therapeutic areas, your products if you're an FRM, right? So when you ask it a question, it's already built within your knowledge base. We want you to have the right answer. When you're in patient access, you're looked at as the expert of your patients in order to gain access to their therapy or submission to payers. So we want to make sure we're giving you the right answer and not just any answer, especially in a world where we're full of disinformation and misinformation. Key and accurate information is key. Now, introducing the reimbursement AI tool from ACMA, this is an AI support system that, again, is carefully curated to your team. This is different from ChatGPT because we, again, curate it specifically to your team, your type of data that you deem important for your AI tool. We want to build the training knowledge base of this AI tool versus just giving you what's publicly available, whether that's right or wrong. Here's that reimbursement AI tool that we have. How we customize this training tool is offering two separate types of training data sets. One is the external dating set, This external training that you see still has that public web scraping, but this is a customizable public web scraping to where it's tailored to only sources of information that you have already deemed trusted, reliable, and accurate. If it's out of its knowledge base, our AI tool is not afraid to tell you, I don't know this answer. It's not afraid to tell you that it's not within my knowledge base. Versus ChatGPT, you search it, whether it knows it or not, or if it's locked behind a locked web page, it will give you any answer. We have already fed into this external training system by the ACMA, clinical practice guidelines, therapeutic area specific information. We can go into our AI tool today and ask a question on any of these training sets, these data sets, and it'll provide you an answer in just a matter of seconds. Now, coming soon in our second version of Reimbursement AI as a result of our advisory board, there will be your latest policy data, right? Again, we're having rapidly changing policies, and with an AI tool, you can identify a specific information or policy change, again, in a matter of seconds, even if it was changed in 48 hours ago. Now, the customized side on the internal training column is what makes this reimbursement AI tool, again, curated for you in your practice. This is where you pull and place all of the information that your FRM may have provided you. Brochures, medical necessity templates and forms, non-clinical data, health policies, formularies. You'd input your information here, customize it to your team. When you ask a question, you have an answer that's trusted from your own documents. We understand that you have a broad, vast amount of data and information, so we also have those integration capabilities that I mentioned earlier. The integration capabilities that the AI tool, Reimbursement AI, can interact or integrate with your content management tool, whether that's Google Drive, again, Viva. It can essentially talk to your content management, pull that data as quickly as possible, and give you those answers. So that concludes our session today on our introduction into AI with reimbursements, specifically ACMA's product, Reimbursement AI. I'm here to open questions with my colleague Heather here if you have any questions on how it may impact FRMs or your practice. While we wait for questions to come up, this session has been approved for PACS CEUs. If you are PACS certified, please scan the QR code here. It'll take you to our learning management system. You can log in, take a few questions, enroll into that Master the Maze session, and then you'll be provided your CE credits that you can apply to your recertification.
I just have one final comment and thought, is that artificial intelligence does not replace our work. It should actually, and going with the theme, if any of you were in the opening session, the guy with the gold jacket, he said something that really stuck with me. And this is what I think AI should be doing with the relationship that industry and HCPs and the providers have. It should be augmenting communication, collaboration, and compassion. And the deepest way in which we have compassion is, again, those 12 hours of time that are spent pushing paper, so to say, that can feel very fruitless at times. If AI can create greater efficiency and improve the collaboration and communication, I think that's a win-win for both parties, and that should be our ultimate goal.
And that's the goal of the Reimbursement AI tool. If you'd like to learn more about the Reimbursement AI tool, we do have a booth at ACMA. It's right when you walk in to the right. You can't miss the large blue sign. You'll see my colleagues, Annie and Vivian. They'll be there to answer any questions for you. Or if you'd like to take a look at the AI tool, we have a demo ready for you as well. Thank you all. I think the exhibit hall is open now with some snacks and some refreshments. I'll see you there.